Okay, so I was in the mood to work on something, and I'm gonna show you guys a little bit about it just because I am a lazy fuck and I don't feel like writing about this right now. I need to actually get work done. And talking through it also helps me with my process, so that's what I'm gonna do. What you're looking at here is Tactician Robin again. I had a bad week last week, a week before that, I guess. And I felt my faith in my abilities was shaken. So I decided, you know what, even if it kind of sucks, I'm going to shelf some of my current projects just for a week. And I'm going to see what I can do on my own tactician project because sometimes it's just nice to work on things you're feeling feeling confident about. As you can tell, this is a very informal thing. I don't usually do vlogs, so there it is. Anyway, my tactician's name is Ada, so if I refer to Ada instead of Robin by accident, that's the same person. That's what I'm talking about. Anyway, alright. This here is the original pattern for Robin's hip pads, the one we used for Josh for his MU. It's more or less the same size. I mean, Josh and I obviously have some size differences, him being a guy, me being a lady. But for the most part, the apron still works the same way. Mine is very slightly longer and very slightly shorter. You can see the way they overlay right there. Mine is a little bit shorter. And in addition, because he has wider hips than I do, his front piece, which I don't have out right now, is quite a bit longer than that. Whereas I can just use same one 3 times. Additionally, when I did his, because the front piece and the side piece were 2 separate pieces, I mocked them all up on 2 separate ones. Here you can kind of see I have 2 things at once. I've got this pattern for the front piece as well as the stripe that goes with it. And then for the side piece, I just have this stripe without the turret top. And then I have this narrow thing going into this pattern. So when I trace it off, that's going to be nice because I can just use the same thing. If you're not familiar with what tracing off is, essentially I do all my work on this flat white paper and then I put tracing paper over top and I trace my pattern pieces through it and I add seam allowance then. It's really nice to have all these little mock-ups like this because then I can play with the pattern as much as I want before pulling one that's actually functional. You can also see I'm doing that with, for example, the front belt. This one, Josh's I did in 1 piece. This one I'm going to do in 3 pieces because I'm mixing it up. And I might remake Josh's after to match. Who knows? Depends on how I like it. Anyways, I've got the front part. This is the center front. I'm going to have a detail here. I don't know if I'm going to pull that in the pattern or if I'm going to do that separately as a top stitch detail. I have yet to decide, but I've put it there for the time being. It curves down over the hip, comes to the back. This part here looks a little funny. It's not going to be cut out like that, but rather the piece is going to come like this and then like this. That way when I sew these lines together, it gives me extra space in the bottom because I have a butt. That gives me a little extra space. As you can see, I have winged out the pattern very slightly at the back too, just to give a little extra space. About another ½ an inch maybe, ¼ inch on each side. And I'm going to add seam allowance on top of that to put a zipper or hooks and eyes or something in the back. Haven't decided. As you can tell, this is all very flying by the seat of my pants. This is my hood draft. It took a couple draping mock-ups to get it and a lot of Christine's help. But there it is for now. I've marked off where I'm going to have my neutral space because one thing I found with Josh's is that this point ended up way too close to the edge. So I just marked off this space to remind myself, stay the fuck away from that edge. These are a little funny. This looks super rough, but that's because I haven't pulled the final pattern yet. Basically what I did is I just sort of loosely sketched out where I wanted my lines to be. I then narrowed it down to a solid line, and then I traced circles off. Oh, I'm low on battery. Yeah, so this is my circle measurement tool. All sorts of different dimensions. I don't know if my camera's picking this up right now. There. 1 3/4 inch, 1 5/8 inch, stuff like that. So I picked my size of my circle and then I just ran it along using these little black guides that let me line it up on the line quite nicely, which means everything got even. So once I drew a whole bunch of lines, I then managed to connect them all, and between that and a ruler, you end up with a fairly consistent line, which is excellent. So I'm going to pull this. All of these are going to be separate pieces, obviously. Maybe I'll do more videos for this project. I don't know. We'll see. What else do I have on my workspace? I've got the draft for the shirt over there. I think that's actually a different draft that I didn't end up using, but I could probably show you guys just out of curiosity. Some blocks, my pants pattern. Oh, Josh's sleeve. So this is Josh's sleeve. Obviously his is quite a bit larger than mine. And again, this isn't the pulled pattern, this is just the drawing. Josh has much broader shoulders than I do, so I won't be able to use his sleeve pattern. And this sleeve is obviously meant for a much larger jacket. I've decided to make mine a little more tailored. I don't know why. I just decided to. As you can see from my block, mine's going to be quite a bit narrower. I'm going to wing out the bottoms to make the cuffs broader. I like how wide Josh's cuffs are. I'm just not positive that it'll fit. Like, it might be too big on me, even though obviously I've tried on his jacket and I like the sizing. I might cut it down. This was my original guide for the cuff. Lots of annoying math doing that one, haha. But at least because it's a repeating pattern, if I wanted to cut it down into a smaller repeating pattern, it would be easy to just trim off the edges and cut it down slightly. You can also see my plebeian eyes in there. Where are you? There you are. I have a template for this eye, which will make doing it again really easy. And then I just made myself a template, and I can trace it off whenever I want. And then, I don't know why I didn't include the actual eye in the template, but there we go. I used a circle again. I don't know which one it was. Oh, it was this one. It lets me line up on the center line perfectly, so it ends up perfectly straight, and there you go. That again gets pulled as a separate pattern piece to be put on as an applique, this time without seam allowance. Yeah, we're running at 7 minutes now, so I think I will give this a break and, you know, get back to working on stuff. Maybe I'll show pants in the second one. Over there you can see Sumia's wig. We're adding, well, we're like Christine and Emmy, mostly Emmy. First big wig project, adding all these extra fibers. We actually bought 2 wigs and they're getting combined together. You can see falchion in the corner, as well as my poor beleaguered scissor blade, which is currently under repairs, and, you know, the fuck tons of mess, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I will check back in with you guys later.